projecting. That's the nothing personal word of the day, right from the diaphragm on Monday, November 17th, 2025. Projecting. I could have gone projectile because I'm starting in a place where I think the world has simply lost its finesse. What is with spitting on your opponent? I get it. There's a lot at stake in the NFL. I get it. There is a hell of a rivalry between the Bengals and the Steelers. I get it. Andrew Filippone's ass was on the line in the Steelers-Bengals game. Yes, he was going to get a tattoo of a tiger if Pittsburgh lost this game, which they didn't, even though it was close for a little while. And then a blowout. Steelers won. Rodgers hurt. Rudolph did fine. The red-nosed Randolph. But the story of that game is, again, we're talking about spitting, projectile spitting on a player. I want you to see, if you're in the chat or you're watching this on Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, while I'm talking, I just want you to focus. I'll describe it if you're listening to this, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm appreciative either way. But we're talking about Jalen Ramsey, the Steelers defensive back, Jamar Chase, the Bengals wide receiver. They're going at it. That's fine. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jamar Chase spits on Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey takes exception to that, which you do when you get spat on. It started a kerfuffle. And then it started some strange quotes. It's hard to imagine that Jamar Chase said, "I ain't ever opened my mouth to that guy. I didn't spit on anybody." That's his story. That's what he's sticking to. Well, NFL investigative team, I know you can't hire Wachtell Lipton. They're busy investigating other things, but you can certainly hire someone who's got a computer screen and you can look at the video of what happened between Ramsey and Chase. And before you know it, you are going to be knee-deep in a red-circled projectile. There you see Ramsey and Chase. They are eye to eye. They are the same size. They're going at it as competitors somehow, some way. It made sense for Chase to decide to spit. I ask a very simple question as you are looking at a red-circled loogie coming out of Chase's mouth into the direction of Ramsey's mouth. It's called a little bird bath. Yeah, you can go to Vegas. You can get hammered. You can do it from time to time at a nightclub. Who hasn't done that? But in the middle of a game, that's a hard pass. What I don't quite understand, when did it, let me go back, Coca. The first time I got into baseball, I was very struck by the spitting that went on and how you had to spit during the course of a game, sunflower seeds or gum. People were spitting loogies, just everything. At the end of a game, the dugout floor is, you need a hazmat, silkwood-like suit to clean a dugout at the end of the game. I started running marathons in 1996. And I've run many, many since then. When I run, I spit because it makes it easier for my breathing, etc. But I always do the head lean. Baseball players mostly do the head lean. Some of them do it in a way that can hit somebody. If you do the head lean to the ground when you do the spit, the only risk you have is that it goes on your shoes. If you do the head lean to the right and down, then you're risking a runner coming up behind you or a cyclist coming up behind you, and all of a sudden you spat on them. Yes, I've had to apologize many times during the course of marathons because instead of the head down where I think I'm going to collapse over my knees, I do the head tilt to the right, never to the left, to the right, and I get a yo. And then I say, sorry, and there's an understanding because you're running a marathon. In baseball, if you don't do the head down, sometimes you do the head up, and it becomes a true projectile spitting where it can go, and they have contests like this during games. Believe me, they do. It's funny. They have bubble contests. They have who can spit the longest contest. They have who can get the cloudiest, dirtiest, most gross spit contest. But let's say you go forward, you're at risk of somehow hitting someone in front of you, even though you look because your head is up. The third kind, that is the conversational spit. Not uncommon. Happens every day. That's you get the little thing in between your mouth, something when you're talking, sometimes something comes out. If you've been eating something, there's potential for true grossness because out could come a projectile piece of challah. Not intentional. That's why many people, they cover their mouth when they're eating or when they're talking while eating for fear of food coming out. But what we've seen in football this year, remember Jalen Carter got that 1-game suspension for spitting on Dak Prescott? And what I believe, and now we're so deep into the season, I think it was before the first play of the game. I believe it was after the kickoff of the first game of the season. I don't know why I think that, Coca, but that's just in my head. Jalen Carter of the Eagles did it to Dak Prescott. Now, you think I'm making a big deal of this. But here's the thing. It's not like we're in COVID, although we're in COVID, but COVID should have zero to do with this. This is all about understanding men. And I'll raise my hand because I'm sure I don't understand men as sure that I don't understand women, as sure that I don't understand children. I can't fully understand anybody. So all I can do is give you my view of what happens when you get into it face to face and you have passion, you have emotion, you have conviction that what you're saying is accurate. You're in the middle of an argument, you're in the middle of a fight, you're in the middle of a competition. When you are face to face, it happens in every sport. Explain to me. It happens in every courtroom. It happens in every boardroom. Frankly, it happens in every meeting. The conviction that your point is right, the emotion that you're fighting for something that you believe in. Now, draw me, please, a straight line from that feeling to spitting purposefully on the person you're arguing with or upset with or competing against. The NFL came down with 1 game on Jalen Carter. They're going to have to do the same 1 game on Jamar Chase, and then they're going to have to do a little memo. And the memo is a simple one, actually. It's men, because you have to address them as men, because they are men. The NFL is so worried about how it looks to kids. They don't worry about the stingers. They don't worry about the concussions. They don't worry about the legs moving in 16 different directions. They don't worry about tendons popping the same way I like Tic Tacs. No. But they worry about when it comes to social injustice and racial inequity, and they worry when it comes to social mores, which would lead me to believe that spitting, this is going to be their cup of tea. Steroids, drug use, domestic violence, but spitting? It's the worst story of the weekend. I really was rooting for that tattoo, Andrew. I love when I hear from Coca during the weekend. It's great. I always know it's going to be around the same time. Listen, several things could happen. Mostly every day, how you doing? Thinking about you, thinking about your daughter. Those are the great check-ins. But I know when the Ravens are playing, it's going to be less great because he's going to be grumpy. And when you're playing the Browns, there's no upside if you're a fan, because if you lose to them, you're despondent beyond repair. If you beat the Cleveland Browns, you're feeling like, of course we beat the Cleveland Browns. So you go into the 3-hour stretch of your Sunday knowing it's nothing but unhappiness, which I assure you, having been doing this for a couple of months, going into every day knowing that it's nothing but unhappiness is not a great plan, Coca. Think about the bright side of what you got to see in that Browns-Ravens game. You got to see Shedeur Sanders, the very player who I thought would not get signed by the Browns after getting drafted, the very player who I thought would never see the light of day on an active roster after he got drafted. I completely was wrong. I completely underestimated how bad the Browns would be. I completely underestimated the number of Achilles tears and concussions and trades that would take place. And then bing, bang, boom, Gabriel, head knock, tent, out, Shedeur Sanders. NFL debut. Now, debuts are cool. Generally, you want to give the family time to get there for your MLB debut. You try to give the player 1 day notice, get the family on the phone, get him on a plane, let's go. There's only one first time. No matter what Madonna said, there is only one first time. Shedeur Sanders, was his family there? Was he aware that he was QB2 and there could be a chance for a concussion? For me, if I'm the Sanders family, I'm going to every game he's QB2 because all you need is one little hit, boom, out, in. But then you realize that Shedeur Sanders and the NFL, it may be a slight premature. All I kept thinking watching him go 4 for 16 for 47 yards, he threw an interception, had a couple drop passes. He had a rating, wait for it, not of 100. If you said that Shedeur Sanders would have a rating of 20 in his first game, which would be a horrific rating, you should have taken the under. His rating was 13.5. But what struck me about Shedeur is that he had never gotten one rep with the first team. Not during training camp, not during practice, during the course of the season. The coach, Stefanski, was always talking about the fact that Shedeur Sanders, we can't judge him because he's never taken reps with Team 1. Well, he has now, right in the middle of a game against the Ravens. I understand why they had to put him in. I do. And Stefanski had to meet the media after the game, which he did. The question asked was, of course, going to be about Shedeur. Never seen this amount of attention. It is amazing. The Packers had to play a backup yesterday for a couple of series. Guy named Malik Willis. It made it into the game story. But leading the game story, leading the post-game presser, he got mentioned because he did well. Shedeur Sanders, the only question that should have been asked if Shedeur Sanders was a simple one, is he still going to be QB2 in the morning? Can we call Carol King and ask, will the Browns still love him in the morning? I cannot imagine watching that performance. To me, Shedeur Sanders is just Bronny James. Maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, he'll be ready to be a 12th guy. Maybe, but it's just too much. And it looked it, Coca. Did it ever look it? Ravens end up winning that game. Thank God. The Ravens, meanwhile, while Coca was not paying attention, having given up on the season, they've crawled their way back to 500, back into the playoff hunt, which I'm sure makes you happy. Anyone stay up late and watch the Lions-Eagles game? Watch the Eagles win. I'm not going to recap. We're not a recap show, but I do have to mention this. Word came out before the game. Chef's kiss, Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie is the owner of the Eagles, not the owner of the Marlins and the Expos. That's Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie, owner of the Eagles. I would love it if we could go back, Coca, and mention every time that we talked about A.J. Brown on this show. Every time we've told you that A.J. Brown was going to get traded, that A.J. Brown was not going to play another down, that A.J. Brown is finished. Well, A.J. Brown continues to play for the Eagles. As a matter of fact, he caught 7 passes yesterday for 49 yards. He was throwing the ball 11 times by his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who A.J. Brown complains about. Man, you guys don't ever call plays for me. I never get the ball. Well, as you know in football, don't listen to players when they say it. because other than a running back on a run, like just talk to the Giants on a first down run, guarantees who gets the ball. When there are players out on pass routes, you may be the second option, the third option, the check down receiver. You get open, you're going to get the ball. But my view is that Jalen Hurts would rather throw the ball to me than he would to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has been hugely public about his dissatisfaction with the offense. A.J. Brown has taken it upon himself to be a one-man wrecking crew of distraction throughout the run that he's had with the Eagles. It is not often that an owner would tell me as the team president, go get that player from practice field. I want to talk to him. We would tell the owner when you want to meet a player and talk to a player, you do it casually. You're walking through the locker room. You may sit down, or if they're gross, the chairs, stand up, tap them on the shoulder, maybe even head into the shaving room, say a few words, mostly in the food room, and you just talk your piece. For Jeffrey Lurie to have made an overt action to meet with A.J. Brown is incredibly telling. The reason why it's telling is that when you're given an option on how to approach a player and you choose the public one and you choose the person who's doing the tapping of the shoulder to be the team owner, you are signaling to every player on that team. You're signaling to A.J. Brown that I, the owner, am not above embarrassing you the way I perceive you're embarrassing me and my team. The other 50-plus men on the field who see this realize that there is going to be accountability for public lashing out. There will be accountability for behavior. There'll be accountability for causing a ruckus of one kind and another within the Eagles locker room. You don't go into an owner meeting and have it done the way Jeffrey Lurie did it with A.J. Brown without knowing every single one of the iterations of what the media would say, what the players would say, what the player would say, what the front office would say, the coaching staff, the head coach. You go through that entire exercise because that's the way, it's sort of like the old school analytics, because that's the way you decide how you want to do what you do. Do you know how easy it would be to have it so none of us would ever know about any internal meetings between Jeffrey Lurie and A.J. Brown? Or that we would be able to control the narrative, and because we would have workshopped if the player who we need to talk to, who's a problem, leaks anything, we will be able to plug that leak with whatever opposition research we may particularly have on that particular moment. Go back, folks. Go do some serious digging on George Steinbrenner. That was all about Oppo research. The Eagles escaped with a victory. All seems well in the world. The Detroit Lions and their level of aggressiveness going for it on fourth down. I don't know about you all, but if you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, so about 80% of the people watching and listening right now to Nothing Personal with David Samson on YouTube, hit subscribe, please. For all of you over 30, there's a button that says subscribe. Just hit that. But for all of you, you may not remember the football that I grew up with. The football that I grew up with was punting on fourth down, celebrating a third down stop because it meant that you're going to get a change of possession. Once in a while, a fake punt, but it's once in a blue moon, truly. Analytics were not part of the decisions. You couldn't go for two. When you went for two, it made sense based on math. Everyone had a piece of paper of when to go for two, when not to go for two in any situation. Life was simple. Now you just see things that are happening. Can you imagine a team going 0 for 5 on fourth down in one game? Unthinkable when I was a kid. Unthinkable. If you're 0 for 5 for an entire season, you're being looked at and saying, wow, you got to reevaluate your plan. This whole fourth down thing going, it can cost you a game. Hey, Dolphins fans, do you not realize what Mike McDaniel going for it on fourth down with under 2 minutes to go, like on the 2-yard line? First time that had been done since the Bengals did it like forever ago, to not take the lead when you can. But instead, Mike McDaniel goes for it on fourth down, doesn't get it, and they end up winning the game because the Commanders are so bad. Commander Stadium, I don't even think Trump's going to want to be associated with such losing. Now, Jane Daniels is hurt, etc. But going forward on fourth down now, it's the analytics. They tell you what should be done on that play. Of course, sometimes coaches go the opposite, like Mike McDaniel. But sometimes coaches go with it, and most times they go with it. And going with it means you're doing these plays that are being simulated by non-humans that shows you analytically what the odds are of success. The thing is, when you get an analytic result that says 92% you will get to the line of gain on this 4th and 1. The problem with the math in the middle of a game is that you've got that pesky 8%. And while 8% may seem like definitionally, if you're an analytics person, that is the cost of doing business. The problem is when you're in a certain situation with your team, with your division, with the playoffs coming, we're already about to be done with week 11 in the NFL. It's the 8% that should keep you up at night. If I asked you to rate our show, would you do it? Would it matter? Rating our show, like thumbs up, thumbs down, we'd always appreciate it. We're born as people who have a show these days to break into the show every once in a while to remind you to vote for us for whatever awards we're nominated for. Remind you to subscribe, to follow us on Twitter at David P. Samson, to watch the TikTok clips. We're just reminded to talk to you about it. Ever since we're kids, we get evaluated based on something. When you're really young, you get evaluated on whether or not you can be toilet trained or whether or not you can say mama, dada. But then as life goes on, you get evaluated on much more complicated things, all of which makes perfect sense. During the middle period, like when you're done with the checks and the check pluses and the check minuses, or you're done with the P and the F, or you're done with the excellent, with a sticker, good, with a heart, you end up to a place where you start getting letter grades. A, B, C, D, F. I don't know what happened to E, but all you can get in school is an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. C is known as average. B, above average, slightly. A, outstanding excellence. D, in trouble, but you still get to move grades. F is for fail. The NFL Players Association has been giving out report cards to its organizations for years, and the NFL has had it. They decided to file a grievance against the union to stop these report cards. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, get ready. Here comes 60 seconds of explanation. Let's get all the players together. Let's take a survey. Do you like your weight room? Do you like your front office? Do you like your coordinators? Do you like your owner? Do you like your team plane? Do you like your parking spot? There is a survey done amongst players for what it is their view is of their team. It is not a survey, hey, does your team win? Does your team lose? Does your team make the playoffs? Does your team win the Super Bowl? It is a purely objective survey from the standpoint of a player and the union, and purely subjective from the standpoint of the owner. When you have a topic that is both subjective and objective like that, it is ripe for a battle. So every year these report cards come out and then the media does a bunch of stories about them. Look at our crappy organization. They got D's and F's across the board. Coca, do you remember the report card that came out one year? The Chiefs had won the Super Bowl and the report card was like terrible because their facilities were old, their training room stunk, they had an old plane, whatever it was. And what I was laughing about is the players were filling out the survey, but because their rings are so big, they couldn't hold a pen, so they had to take the ring off and then write down the D's, C's, and F's. You would think there would be a correlation between winning and happiness. The people who don't believe in that correlation are the permanently unhappy. Because if you can't get happy when you're successful, then what's it going to be like when you fail? What's going to be like for 31 teams worth of players who have failed during a particular NFL season? The argument against what I'm saying is a even funnier one. It is the fact that the union believes the players have the ability to separate their views of the items in the report card versus how they feel about their team and its winning. So, for example, you can be on a really winning team and not like your owner. I get that. I do. But what if you're on a losing team and you like your owner? Do you give him a B? B plus? Do you think to yourself, wait, is he spending enough money or not? Let me make the decision. Every $15 million in payroll is a half a letter. The problem with this situation is the Players Association does this report card. The NFL has nothing to do with it. So the NFL has one recourse. They filed a grievance against the Players Association asking the union to stop doing those report cards. And for whatever reason, unbeknownst to me, never will be known by me, why Woody Johnson would ever be the spokesperson for anything, no matter what country he's living in, and no matter whether or not I have to call him ambassador. The fact is, Woody Johnson being the spokesperson for this when his team ranks near the bottom of every single survey is ridiculous. Woody Johnson, team ranks 29th, came out and said players' surveys are totally bogus. Do you not agree it would be far more effective to have somebody from one of the top 5 ranked teams by this report card coming out to say the survey is totally bogus? When you've got the 29th ranked team saying it, what do you think he's going to say? Hey, this report card, this has snapped me to attention, boys. I am going to get my act together, and I'm going for that B next year. The NFLPA basically has told us that 80% of people participate in these confidential surveys, 80% of players. The league had said that they're going to file the grievance. The Players Association said what you say when you're a Players Association. We responded to the grievance with our intention to fight against this action and continue what's clearly become an effective tool for comparing workplace standards across the league and equipping you to make informed career decisions. That's my favorite. The union is so full of it. And this is not me carrying water for Jerry frickin' Jones. Hold on, let me give you a tour of our facilities. Look at that weight room, pretty sweet, right? And look at the route that you would take every day to get to the game. We calculated the traffic a sun study. You would only have to put your visor down by 3 inches without needing sunglasses, and you can drive all the way to every game that's 1 o'clock at our stadium. And if you live in this great neighborhood, it's going to be a 69-minute commute, and that's it, door to door. And when you get here, we're going to have warm, hot chocolate waiting with 12 trainers, 6 masseuses, and don't you forget about that plane because it's comfy cozy. Well, that's great. Thanks for that tour. We appreciate that tour. What was your offer again? 1 year, $4 million, one of which is even guaranteed. What? You think the players are making informed career decisions based on weight rooms and the way the plane is, whether or not anyone likes the owner or the training staff? It's ridiculous. Please just stop. Career decisions are made based on where you're drafted, where you're comfortable, where you can make money guaranteed, what you have to do when you are a released player trying to make it or you're on a practice squad. Hold on. They're elevating me from the practice squad to go to a different team to play. Wait. I gotta check the status of the shower room. Give me a minute. I'm a released player. Let me go through because I want to make a very informed career decision. 1 second, please. I'm going to see what's served on the team flight when we fly to Audi or Hubbets. Give me a sec. Do you see how preposterous this is? Hold on. Free agents making informed career decisions. I get it. Of course, it's not about the release players. It's not about the practice squad players. I think the union is referring to the free agent signings. All right, great. Because that's what the players do on their free agent tour. They're touring the facilities and they're deciding where they want to go. You know what? We can make it a sealed offer, folks. Doesn't matter what your offer is because I know the team I'm choosing. I want to be a Chief. But wait a minute, you can't go to the Chiefs. They're like a C-. Hold on. I want to go to the Browns. Well, the Browns get a B+ in certain areas. What area is more important for you? It's absolutely ridiculous, Coca. Just ridiculous. You know this grievance that the NFL has filed against the NFLPA? It has no chance of winning. I think the NFL protests too much. Shut Woody Johnson up, Roger, and just be okay knowing that that survey is a joke. It's embarrassing. And don't act on the findings trying to get yourself to number 26 up from 29. What is this, the U.S. News and World Report college rankings? Law school rankings? Like anyone gives a flying rat's pituitary gland. Maintenant, je peux parler français, mais vraiment, j'ai besoin d'espagnol. Steven and Tom Garfinkel, do you want to hire me back? I'm happy to be your assistant. Move back to Florida, run the Dolphins, so I can be one of the executives who's run a baseball team and a football team. I mean, it can't be worse. I mean, yes, it's true. The Dolphins have won a couple in a row. The Dolphins are right back in it, baby, after that unbelievable win over the Commanders in Berlin, in Madrid, 4-8-6-9. After the Dolphins' unbelievable win in Madrid. It was riveting. Field goal after field goal, and then 16-13 in overtime after interceptions and bonehead plays, the likes of which we talked about earlier in the show, a la Mike McDaniel going for it instead of winning the game in regulation. Mariota backing up Daniels. Tua being so ineffective that the Dolphins' plan is to run. And all of that took a backseat to what the Dolphins were doing by being in Madrid because there's a whole lot of Spanish-speaking people in Miami. I remind you, it's like wanting to buy the Montreal Expos thinking that you want to be closer to Paris, France. It's a different type of French. But I can imagine a bunch of white folks running the Dolphins may not realize that the way Mexicans speak or Dominicans speak or Venezuelans speak, that all of them have different ways of speaking Spanish. Forget Spain. But the Dolphins have decided that they've got a plan. They're going after every Spanish-speaking country. And they came out and they acknowledged it. Think about this if you're the New York Jets. Come on, David. Think about this I'm so used to speaking on the Jets. Think about this if you're the Miami Dolphins. You're in Madrid. Your market is clearly Spanish-speaking, though not because of Spain, but I digress. It's like having a marketing campaign in Spanish and thinking that'll touch everybody when every individual group of people requires a different message, a different way to speak to. But again, I digress. The Dolphins right now have the rights, and I'm talking about it's their territory, where they can exploit revenue possibilities. They've got the rights in Spain, the UK, Brazil, and now they've added Mexico, Argentina, Colombia. They are unique in Argentina and Colombia. They're the only team with the rights. Because I said when they've got the rights to exploit, it doesn't mean they have the exclusive rights. Tom Garfinkel, the president, the CEO of the Dolphins, came out in Madrid and said he is interested in playing more frequently in a global Spanish-speaking market. Interested in the possibility of having a more consistent presence in these markets. Of course, Tua, after the game, was asked, what market do you like? He said, hey, I'd like to play in Jerusalem, which the reason I laughed, I mean, listen, Diane, it would be unbelievable. Forget getting to wake up at 9:30 and watch a game, but imagine if you got to see it in Jerusalem. I will not be alive, nor will any of you, for the first regular season game in Jerusalem, but it's more important to me that what the Dolphins are doing is trying to make their fans forget the fact when they mention, hey, we could be the Jaguars, the way the Jaguars are in London, the way the Expos are and were in Puerto Rico. We could have a home away from home. Our players would love it. We'd get to go to Spain. We'd get to go to Colombia. We'd get to go to the UK. Dear season ticket holders, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Because we're going to go to 18 games, which means we'd have 9 home games every year. You're only used to 8. So if we go away for 1 game a year or 1 game every 2 years, then what's the difference? You'll never even notice that we were gone. That's not how it works, actually. When you volunteer that you want to do a Jaguar-like London deal, you are going to get a lot of pushback from your local media, from your local fan base, because no one you saw, and Stephen Ross knows this because he lived it. He had a soccer game scheduled to be in Miami, got canceled because the supporters lost their mind. They would not accept this game away from the home stadium. American fans don't have that kind of passion. They don't that kind of attention span. They don't have that kind of intestinal fortitude to effectuate change in that way. But they still think it stinks. I understand why the Dolphins wanted to announce this while the team was in Madrid, because you feel like you're there. It's 9:30 in the morning in Miami. It's 2:30 in the afternoon or 3:30 in the afternoon in Madrid, and you're just feeling super good about the possibilities. You're feeling so far away from home that you forget the fact that everybody's always listening. And it caused a tremendous amount of walkback, which is not how you want to roll out a new international agenda. You want to have fanfare. You want excitement. You want buy-in from your constituencies, the league, the union, the fan base, the players. You want buy-in because that's how you can better exploit, if it's even exploitable, these international markets. Instead, the Dolphins are out there flailing at the end of a Survivor Challenge stick game where you have to put sticks together by rope and everyone's limp as though they, live with Hefner without medication. That's how they unveiled this. Do I think that they wish they had another try? I do, because I also think the Dolphins are going to play more international games, because I think the NFL is going to play more than just the 10 they're asking for next year. We are 2 years away, 3 years away from a game a weekend, all 18 weeks internationally. We told you to wait for it. And when I see comments like this by teams who are trying to get ahead of the others in what will be the worldwide gold rush, that's how it starts. That's how it manifests itself. All right, Coca, please. Time for the review. It's time for the review. I must tell you all that I did watch Roofman this weekend. And I had this level of not guilt, although I do have guilt whenever I'm doing anything now that's not with my daughter. I feel like I got to be there. I can't be there all the time. She doesn't want me there all the time, but other people are there all the time, but then they're not. And then is she alone? All of this stuff is going on in my head. I knew I had to watch Roofman, and I didn't know how I'd react. Channing Tatum, I like him. Kirsten Dunst, I love her. Not because of Jesse Plemons. I love her because of Elizabethtown. I love her just because. Do you know it's a true story about a guy that would sneak in through the roof of fast food places like McDonald's? True story. He would then rob the place. From time to time, he'd put the employees in the fridge, but give them a coat to make sure they weren't cold. The guy's a family man. The guy is a serviceman. The guy needed money. And the guy's a criminal. Roofman goes above and beyond to make you want to like Channing Tatum. And is there anyone more likable than Channing Tatum? Now, this is not a goofy 21 Jump Street type of movie. This is actually a dramatic role that has comedy in it. So a com-dram, a drom-com. Channing Tatum is very able to command a screen, not just because of the biceps and triceps, but the thigh muscles ain't bad also, the quads. No. He actually commands the screen because you're looking at him, and during this movie, you're saying, wow, there's a guy who did that, but I bet he doesn't look like Channing Tatum. And by the end of the movie, they show the picture of the real people, and it is true. Trust me, the woman didn't look like Kirsten Dunst, and the criminal did not look like Channing Tatum. Not at all. I mean, it wasn't like a Jonah Hill, Paul D. Podesta thing, but it still wasn't right. But the movie itself was super entertaining. How do you think that story would end, spoiler alert, when you are committing robberies all over the place, and I mean lots of them? What would just in your mind be your thought? I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to, but it's a true story. Meaning what? Let me know. Get to me at David P. Samson on Twitter, DM. Hopefully I'll see it, though the numbers are getting larger, so thank you. You can get to us on davidsamsonpodcast.com. You can get to us on our graphic that we're about to show you. We have a phone number. If you want to leave a number at the beep and just say what your view is of Channing Tatum in that regard, take it. 631-377-4869 is the phone number. That is for our So You Want to Talk to Samson Wednesdays. No show tomorrow. There will be a show Wednesday. The second hour of the show is you. So please, dial. Smile and dial. We had some great voicemails last week. I expect we'll have some great ones this week. And sometimes I listen to some of the oldies just for fun. And if it's an evergreen oldie, it may just get used. Evergreen means it's something that's old, meaning you're not sending me a voicemail that I'm listening to today saying what happened week 4 with the Cowboys. Oy vey. That's not going to make the show because we're at week 12 next week. And I won't have remembered what that play was anyway. So that is the graphic. If you're looking for a show to watch or a movie to watch for a Wednesday review, I'm going to be reviewing a new documentary on Netflix, and it's called Being Eddie. Being Eddie came out just this weekend, I think. It's a full movie about Eddie Murphy. I don't know that I've ever seen an Eddie Murphy documentary, so I'm super excited. It's about 103 minutes, and I expect that I will get to it before Wednesday at 7 a.m. Eastern live. Nothing personal pick of the day. I thought we had like a thing that goes with that, Coca. Like when I say nothing personal, that this whoosh goes off like dun, dun, dun. Do you want to try that again? It's not playing. It's broken. That button broke. Wow. Metalark. We got broken buttons, man. There's this animation that comes developed by Patrick Kim that says nothing personal pick of the day. Thursday, we had the Patriots -3.5 in the first quarter over the Jets. God dang it. I cannot believe that. The Jets scored first. They were up 7-0 at the end of one. Of course, the Jets lost. Of course, the Patriots covered over the course of the full game. And of course, we lost our pick of the day because I tried to get cute. What is cute about Patriots in the first quarter? I figured they'll run down the field because Drake May is so unbelievable, which he is. Drake May, top-tier quarterback. If you had to draft quarterbacks right now for this year only, who do you want as your quarterback? Mahomes? Allen? For sure. Would you take Drake May over Lamar Jackson, Coca? Today, right now. Coca would say no. I would say, yeah, I probably would have to. Well, the Jets scored first. Then yesterday, I had it. Packers, Giants. I watched that game yesterday from the confines of MetLife Stadium, freezing my kishkas off, not because the temperature was cold, because the wind was howling. And of course, I couldn't watch much of the game because I was too focused on blowing hot dog wrappers and napkins for fear that I'd be watching the game and then one of them would blow and hit the side of my face and I would basically get gooed the way they do in Ghostbusters by all the flying crap. Candlestick Park used to have that, Coca. I would not like to be on the field at Candlestick Park generally. And I would do it, but I didn't like it generally because I didn't like the wind. I didn't like what was going on in terms of projectiles. So I couldn't really watch the game because it was windy. But I can tell you one thing. The Packers and the Giants pushed. We had a line of 7. Final score was 27-20. Giants had it. They had it. They gave it up. And the Packers needed to go for 2. It was 25-20 toward the end of the game. And I'm like, they're definitely going for 2. I got a chance here. They go for 2. They get 2. Everything's going great. We pushed. 141 and 145 heading into Monday's game. We got the Cowboys and the Raiders. I really want the Raiders to win this game. Although I prefer Tom Brady not to win games because then it'll show him how hard it is to run a team and how to be the lead analyst and run a team and get cloned and for your dog and do all this stuff. It's just hard and date. Like there's enough hours in the day if you don't sleep. But the Cowboys are playing with heavy hearts today in their first game since the tragic death of Marshawn Kneeland. I end the show by giving you a pick, just the first hour of the show. We'll be back for hour 2. We're taking the Cowboys 3.5 over the Raiders. The Cowboys are going to do this for Marshawn Kneeland. That's number 1. Number 2, the Raiders are just horrific from 1 to 55. When you play the first game after the death of a teammate, and I know firsthand, it is not easy. Your hearts are heavy. You are in disbelief. You go out, and it's not like once the puck drops that all of a sudden you forget about your teammate. You'll be reminded of it all game tonight. Will it lead to playing better? Will it lead to playing worse? There will people who will hypothesize on that. I won't. This pick is based solely on the Cowboys being the better team than the Raiders, emotional trauma notwithstanding. And remember, if you're down and you're down to the point where you are feeling that you want to take your life, there are people, there are numbers to call. There are people who will absolutely help you. You call 988 and you will have an opportunity to get help. My prayers and thoughts and absolute nightmare is with Marshawn Kneeland, his family. We will be back after this break with more Nothing Personal. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's hour 2. It's David Samson coming at you this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I want to start with a big piece of news out of Major League Soccer. It's not every day we get a calendar change in professional sports. There's been leakage in different sports. I like leakage. I mean, sometimes it's messy, but sometimes it's cool. Super Bowl used to be end of January 15th, 19th, 25th, 28th, 29th. Then you started with a little Feb 1 action. Then you get to Feb 2, Feb 5. With 18-week season, you're going to get leakage. It's going to go to President's Day weekend when you have an 18-week season. That's leakage. November baseball. The playoffs are always in October. There's some leakage. It's how you get to Mr. November. Basketball playoffs, a little deep into June. Leakage is different than a complete change, which is what Major League Soccer just voted on. The owners, not the players, that's got to come. The owners voted to flip the calendar of the sport. Major League Soccer will no longer have playoffs during this time of year because they're currently in their playoffs. They've decided that they want to play during the winter while taking a break from December to February. They've decided that they want the same schedule as the Premier League, as the other European soccer leagues. They decided that when they flip the calendar, there will be benefits because they'll be aligned with the other sports leagues in the other countries. They decided if they flip the calendar, it will be helpful in terms of taking their sport seriously worldwide. They think it will be helpful domestically because of who they'll be competing against. It won't be the NFL and college football anymore. They think that it will help to flip the calendar because it will help with the transfer windows and the signings will be, players get transferred and they're signed in soccer, European. We talk about it on this show. Hey, for $80 million, we sold this player to that team. So we talk about the fact that MLS can now, because the calendars are flipped, so they're going to have similar signing windows and transfer windows, that now MLS is a player. So they announced they're flipping the calendar. The thing is, they made the announcement concurrently with another announcement. And the other announcement was about their big deal they had with Apple. Do you remember when Messi came to Inter Miami and Apple got involved in Major League Soccer and there was something called the Season Pass? And if you bought it, if you had Apple, you could buy a Season Pass, but it was more than just the regular amount for Apple TV. Or if you didn't want Apple TV, you could buy a Season Pass and then get all the Major League Soccer games. And do you remember that Messi had a piece of that? Any new Apple subs that got there because people wanted the Season Pass, he got a percentage of. Maybe a percentage of just total Season Pass subs. Whatever negotiation that was done for Messi was done because the thought was he is going to effectuate change. He's going to do what Don Garber's been dreaming about since he was a little commissioner. He's going to get his sport to be a major North American sport. Well, Messi's been in the league with Inter Miami. Inter Miami has increased its on-paper valuation tenfold. All of that's possible. But the fact of the matter is, the MLS deal with Apple didn't work. An abject failure. The number of people who were signing up to pay to watch MLS was so bad that in an unprecedented move, Major League Soccer's streaming partnership with Apple is going to end 3.5 years earlier than what it was supposed to be. They are realizing that after 6 years, not 10, that the model they had in place has no shot of working. Why is that so interesting to me? It's so interesting because of what it acknowledges, that we have to switch our calendar and we have to do it in order to be a part of something global. And to be a part of something global, we have to manifest that feeling by making sure that everyone globally can watch our product but not have to pay for it. It's like all included now. It's like being on the basic tier. From Major League Soccer standpoint, it's what all clubs dream about. We always wanted to be on the basic cable tier. We always wanted ESPN. Be on ESPN, you're on the basic tier. Our regional sports network, we don't want anyone to pay extra for that. We want you to pay us, cable companies, but then we want you to make it available to everyone for the base price. Well, hold on a second, the cable companies said. We're going to charge more for your RSN because if people won't pay us more, then what are we doing paying you so much for your rights deals? And then the companies wake up and say, hold on a second, we just realized we're bankrupt. The thing that's going on from a business standpoint with this MLS and Apple deal is they never hit the pro forma projections that they had. It never became a differentiating factor enough of one where people would open their wallet to pay extra, to put it on the higher, more exclusive tier, meaning behind a paywall. And they were frankly behind two paywalls. So now MLS gets to say, all right, I mean, that's counting cable and Apple and Netflix as a paywall. All right, when I watch a Kevin James comedy show or an Adam Sandler movie and it's on Netflix or House of Dynamite, do I view that movie as behind a paywall? No, because I have a sunk costs ready that I can amortize over all the content that I watch. And so given Netflix as an example, if I watch 5 series, 2 movies, and 6 episodes of an old series, I could basically say I'm paying 20 cents for what I'm watching. It's the math that we all do as we explain away a line in our budget. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Am I getting value? Well, it turns out the people didn't view MLS Season Pass as valuable at all. Their value was actually zero incrementally over having Apple. Because now, if you've got Apple TV, you get MLS. It's not a season pass anymore. There's no recovering from that. One of the things that is a really, God, is that a hard lesson? When you set a price for an item, you set that price because you believe you know the demand. And when you're proven wrong over a long period of time, you have 2 choices. You can disappear. You can pull that item from the shelves. You can bankrupt the company or just shut the company down. That's one way to do it. When your supply so far outstrips your demand, you can adjust price. And that's why you walk around and you see 40% off, 60% off, price to move. Sign up for this, get that free. Buy one, get one free. There are all sorts of things that are done when supply is too much for demand. You've got to flatten those curves. The thing is, if you go too far, you are acknowledging that your product is not worth anything. Doing a $1 hot dog day as a promotion is different than having hot dogs cost $1 all season. Doing a buy one, get one free for a particular game in a particular section is one thing. Doing a half price buy one, get one free BOGO in the entire stadium, including the best seats, is another thing. You have to be so protective of your pricing. You have to be protective of your exclusivity. Because when you're not, you have no more moves publicly. If MLS were a publicly traded company and they and Apple came to the conclusion that they're going to get rid of MLS Season Pass, forget the technical part of whether or not that fact may have been worked into prior earnings and share price. I'm assuming here that it's a total surprise, that it comes out of nowhere. It's an alert on your phone. Holy cow, MLS Season Pass is done and no one knew. That leads to an absolute cratering of the worth of your underlying assets. Again, that's tough, but that's a fact. So will the calendar change and will the Apple change? Will that do something to get MLS to where they thought they would be years ago with Messi, where they thought they'd be decades ago with Beckham? I would say my answer is pretty clear. If you haven't been able to do it with the best in particular countries, then you won't be able to do it with the mediocre or the second best. MLS has shot its shot. I am certainly not impugning the league. I'm not impugning the owners or the value of the teams or the stadiums that are being built in Miami and elsewhere. I am telling you that your chance of overtaking basketball, baseball, hockey, I don't mention football, your chances of getting to that exclusive table with this announcement, they are further away, not closer. I'm not sure I'll ever see another season where Shohei Ohtani is not the MVP of baseball. I've had a few days to think about this. It was announced on Thursday that Shohei Ohtani was unanimously voted as the National League MVP. And you may think that's amazing. How do you get to be unanimous? Well, there's 30 voters in a particular year who vote for NL MVP. They're members of the BBWAA, and they vote. It's different rules than Hall of Fame, but it's the writers voting. Ohtani has won 4 MVPs the last 5 years, and every single one of those 4 has been unanimous. Twice for the Angels, twice for the Dodgers. He's won the MVP and a World Series in both his years for the Dodgers while getting paid $4 total million in cash. Shohei Ohtani is way more than what the Dodgers could have expected. Rest of the league be damned. Shohei Ohtani has shown that as a one-way player, he is the best in baseball. As a two-way player, he is better than the best in baseball. What Shohei Ohtani was able to do this year, where he came back and he saved his arm coming back from his second Tommy John. He had his innings mapped out perfectly in a plan that was agreed to before they started, that assumed that they would go through the World Series. Trust me, him starting the games that he started, like Game 4, that is not, where should we start Ohtani? It is all premeditated. It is all meant to keep him healthy and available as he plays his 32nd year on this earth. It is maximizing the number of years of his 10-year deal that he can do this. This is like the Patrick Mahomes dream, MVP and champion every year. Congratulations, Shohei. He said through an interpreter, which he doesn't need anymore, but he said, it's definitely special. It makes it special because it was unanimous, and I'd like to thank all the writers for voting for me. Ohtani's had enough scandal to last a lifetime this season, but it all seems to get covered up by winning and by his talent, doesn't it? And my God, does he have talent. The American League was more interesting. Aaron Judge was the MVP, as we told you he would be on Wednesday's show. Aaron Judge was named MVP. He got 17 of the 30 first-place ballots. I went on a radio show, Coca, in Seattle right after Cal Raleigh finished second in the American League MVP. And I was happy for Seattle and for the Mariners, and I'm happy for Cal. But who exactly was going to get the MVP over Aaron Judge? I just can't possibly think of one. Aaron Judge has won 3 of the last 4 AL MVPs. It's just spectacular. Judge and Ohtani are back-to-back. They were the best last year. They're the best this year. What makes you think they won't be the best next year? There is such a canyon-like difference between where Judge and Ohtani are and where the rest of the league is. Yes, Cal Raleigh had a season for the ages. Seattle, you know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. Cal Raleigh finishing in the top 5 for MVP next year would be a Christmas miracle. Aaron Judge finishing in the top 5 for MVP next year would be an absolute expectation, if not a certainty. I'm super excited to watch what happens in baseball here next year. Because if you look at the Cy Young and the MVP were the 2 biggest awards, 3 out of the 4 winners were repeat winners from last year. Only Paul Skeens was able to move in there and get the National League Cy Young. And I could argue that Skubal, Skeens, Ohtani, and Judge, right now, if I spoke to our friends at DraftKings, right now, my guess is those are the 4 favorites to do it again next year, which would make it 3 in a row for 3 of the awards, and Skeens going back to back. When you run a team in a sport and you know that there is no chance for you to have anything other than the best of the best, when you are running the Yankees or running the Dodgers and you know that you've got the money and the quality that exhibits itself, basically manifests itself as the MVP of a league. And the MVP, the writers have reckless disregard for how much money the player is being made. It doesn't matter who's the most valuable player. The power of knowing you've got that guy, it's intoxicating. When we had Stanton win an MVP in 2017 and you're watching an MVP season and you're watching him hit 59 home runs or 57 home runs and just you're watching a season that you can't believe, you feel so honored that you are in that company for a full year. The problem is there's another side. There's the yang to the yin. There's the negative to the positive. When you run a team that doesn't have these players and you know you're going up against those players and you know there's not one thing you can do, that's not the helplessness that the collective bargaining agreement is trying to address. The helplessness that is the key word used, the hopelessness that is the key word used by negotiators for the commissioner's office and the union. We want every team to have hope. The hopelessness that you feel when you know that you can't get the best, and it's not price, it's just luck. It's just life. There are ways to acquire certain players. There are ways to sign them and trade them or draft them. And there are ways to try to figure out how you can get yourself the best. Maybe you've got the best for a year. Maybe you've got the best for a month and you can live with that positivity. But what Ohtani and Judge are is not the best for a day, a month, or a year. It seems as though they're going to be the best for a career in a way like the only thing that will ever stop these guys from winning MVPs is Father Time. And if there were ever anyone who would get past Father Time, it's Ohtani. Just don't think that'll happen. So congratulations to Skubal, Skeens, Judge, Ohtani. Apologies to Cal, but you guys knew it was coming. I can't get up during the course of a show here, Coca, but I would if I could. And I'd love to go talk about what is going on right now with the Padres. I'd love to be able to do a bit of a victory dance and wag my Snoopy tail. Although I don't revel in misery, I don't revel in loss. I revel in winning. I revel in profit. I revel in love. The San Diego Padres, we've been telling you for years, are an irresponsibly run organization by a GM who does not understand that his job is not to have his owner lose money hand over fist and keep signing irresponsible players just because your owner says, hey, man, I'm an idiot. Go ahead and do it. My brother wanted it. The Padres were owned by Peter Seidler, who is trying to catch the Dodgers, and it's like chasing a rabbit by a dog in a track. It's never going to happen. Peter Seidler tragically passes away. Rest in peace. I miss him every time I think about the Padres. But do you think it's a shock that his heirs and assigns are both fighting and selling the team? Did you not hear us tell you that the Padres are losing so much money that they've got to sell the team or get rid of the players? And what turned out is that they're doing both. The Padres are run about as irresponsibly as any team out there, and I include the Mets in there because Steve Cohen funds the losses by writing checks. The Seidler family has no interest in writing checks. They were borrowing money to make payroll. They were borrowing. They were doing bridge loans. They were getting access to capital markets. They were doing everything they can, and they've been checkmated. So what do you do when you're checkmated? Some people lay down the king. Some people take out an ad in the paper and write a letter. The Seidler family released a letter saying the family has decided to begin the process of evaluating our future with the Padres. I love this. I just want you to know that that's not what you hire someone for. Unless, of course, he's hiring a therapist. Instead, he's hiring an investment bank. Do you think that the reason the Twins didn't sell is they hired the wrong bank, or the reason the Nationals didn't sell is they hired the wrong bank? Or do you think the reason that the Angels didn't sell is they hired the wrong bank? No. The Angels didn't sell because Artie Moreno's ego wouldn't let him sell, because he still thinks he can win and he doesn't want to leave his career by selling the team and being known as a straight loser. Hey, I'll hold on. I'll write a check. People are still looking at billboards. When you look at what the Twins did, the Pohlad family, when they came out and said, we're the people to run this team and bring a championship to Minnesota, that was horse hockey. They couldn't get the price that they wanted, and they really didn't need to sell. They could raise money by bringing in a bunch of friends and family. Great. What about the Lerner family? Same thing. They're for sale. Now they have a new 30-year-old GM, a 30-year-old manager. All the pitching coaches are 32 years old. There is a youth movement in Washington. It's super exciting. Inversely correlated to the ages of the ownership group. Normal, always inversely correlated. That's not a cut on you, Lerners. I love you. Mwah, you know I do. But why didn't you sell the team? A, you didn't get the number you want. B, you can't get the siblings to agree, and you don't want to make Ted, your late father, who I love, unhappy. So you just say, all right, we'll keep going for now. Do you think the Seidler family has a bunch of people in it working on behalf of Peter as his executor, as his heir, as his assign? And do you think they looked at the Padres and said, listen, Peter, I love you, man. You'll always be in my heart. But I ain't writing checks because you have Preller sign all these guys who are overpaid and under-delivering. I can't do it. So I'm going to begin the process of evaluating our future. What a bunch of horse hockey. They're selling the team. It's exactly what we told you they'd have to do, because they've been cutting payroll for a couple of years. It's still not low enough. And they are in a position where they feel boxed in, because all anyone writes about the Padres is it's a miracle city. They open their doors and boom, people flock in there like they're looking to find seagulls. They are coming in to watch the game. They're announcing record after record. No mention of average ticket price. No mention of total revenue. No mention of total expenses. No mention of, even with the sold-out stadium, drawing 3-4 million people to Petco, which, by the way, is awesome. I am not sullying the fact that these people are coming to games in San Diego, no matter how much they're paying. I am not sullying that, because you can give away free tickets that people don't show. $5 tickets they don't show. $20 tickets they don't show. $200 tickets they don't show. Markets have no shows. Markets have apathy. Markets have, hey, I'd rather watch on TV. San Diego's getting it done. But where do you go when you're selling out your stadium and you can't make ends meet? Where do you look to? You look to the broadcast deal. The Braves broadcast deal is bupkis because the RSNs went bankrupt. The revenue associated with their old broadcast deal is whoosh. It's sozaid. It's out the window. It's gone. The math in San Diego doesn't work. The payroll is too high. And why would Peter Seidler's heirs want to be associated with what is certainly going to happen? It would be like wanting me to be associated with the trading of Yelich, Stanton, Ozuna, and Real Muto. Why would I want to be associated with it? Let the new guy do it. Let Jeter do it. Peter Seidler's heirs, including John Seidler, the chairman, knows exactly how this ends. In his statement, he wrote that, hey, we'll continue to focus on players, employees, fans, and community. We're going to put every resource into winning a World Series championship. That is purposefully chosen words by the chairman. You don't hear Peter Seidler when he was alive saying something like that. We're going to put every resource into winning a World Series championship. Does that mean every dollar of profit? And so you're willing to break even? Does that mean you're willing to be $10 million in the hole? So every resource will include our break-even payroll plus $10 million. Or does every resource mean that you're going to go borrow money, sell your things, live on the street in the district, still come to games, but you're going to pour all that money into this year's payroll? Does it mean that your whole family is going to fire the family lawyers, get rid of the family office, cash in all the family investments and all the other things that the Seidler family has, get rid of all of it because those are resources and we're going to put every resource into winning the World Series? Obviously, what I'm saying is a joke, but the wordsmith of that sale announcement fascinated me. Don't ever tell someone you're going to put every resource into something. That is like being in a conversation with someone and saying, I will deal with this every waking minute. Really? Are you sure you're going to do that? This is going to be my priority. Well, that's telling. Will it be your top priority? Didn't say that. I said it's going to be my priority. Well, that's good. Does that mean it's a priority to do what you say you're going to do, or just know that you have to do what you say you're going to do? Oh, good catch, Dave. I'm just saying it's my priority. That's what the Seidler family did here, and everyone is speculating. Are they for sale? Are they not for sale? Answer, yes. Will they be sold? Will they not be sold? Answer, yes. Will the payroll continue to go down? Answer, yes. Are they going to be in the market signing these free agents this year the way they have done in previous years, which has not worked out by any stretch? The answer is no. It doesn't take away how great Petco Park is. Really, it doesn't. None of it. The reality is that the Padres are in debt about $300 million, which is about average for what teams are. The problem is that if their debt is capped, they have no more access to capital other than borrowing from a bank using their other holdings as collateral, which would be abjectly irresponsible. If you can't run a team using the team's assets as collateral, then you are running a payroll that's too high. If you can't run the team without taking a few pennies as profit and reinvesting it in an extra pitching machine, then you are not running the team right. I admit it. 15 or 16 out of 18 years, ran it wrong. Needed capital infusions. You remember what else they're dealing with, right? I assume you do. The Seidler family's in the middle of a fight because Peter Seidler's widow, you may remember that she sued her two brothers-in-law, saying, no, my husband wanted me to run the team. And the brother's saying, no, our brother wanted us to run the team. And she's saying, hey, how about if we go to court? Well, there's still a lawsuit going on in a probate court trying to figure out who has what, where, when, and how. The courts will be remiss to overturn a will that was left by Peter. All his widow has is some sort of late-stage handwriting, and I can tell you that those should be viewed as unreliably as you could imagine. Wait to see when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. We have Wait to Seize on davidsamsonpodcast.com. It's a tab where you can see everything we've done. I wanted to give you today's Wait to See because it is about the San Diego Padres. while they evaluate their process and think about their future and pour resources, every one of them, into their team, wait to see. The Padres, A, don't make the playoffs next year. It's a two-part wait to see. And B, this team will be sold. But I've got to see, Coca. This team has to get itself sold prior to the collective bargaining agreement running out. Because if you are the Seidlers, you are going to lose a tremendous amount of money if there is a work stoppage. And if you are the commissioner's office, you want a new owner in there who owes you, who you've approved, who you've gotten in there if you're the commissioner, and therefore they are going to be with you on any issue in collective bargaining. Prior to negotiations, it was always a good move to have a few new owners around, all of whom were there only because of Bud Selig, because it made collective bargaining and having owners together way easier. Wait to see, Coca. They will not make the playoffs, and they will be sold before the collective bargaining agreement runs out. Steph Curry's getting divorced. I shouldn't start the segment that way. That's because people like his friends and his parents and his mother. Dell's like, what? All right, let me get back. 4869. Steph Curry and Under Armour have officially gotten a divorce. A marriage that started with such promise, a feeling of great love and respect, and money flowing to Steph like it was the bottom of the Nile. Well, it turns out that Under Armour was spending a whole lot of money on a whole lot of things and not making enough of it back. It turns out that Under Armour, who is now reevaluating its entire endorsement lot, its entire sneaker line partnership, they decided it was better to finish with the entire Curry brand. And listen to the quote that Under Armour said, knowing that Under Armour right now is a public company, knowing they are trading right now at a 15-year low, knowing that they have so badly underperformed the market that investors in Under Armour are despondent beyond repair, questioning leadership, questioning schedule, questioning plan, strategic initiative. Under Armour had to come out and said, hey, just FYI, not having the Curry brand, that's not going to impact our financial results or profitability at all. If that's not a little FU out the divorce door, then nothing is. United Artists, why did I just say that? I'm looking at UA. 4869. Under Armour. Talking about Steph Curry. They were associated with Steph Curry. This was a deal to take them to another level when they thought they could compete with the big boys. This was a seminal moment in the corporate life of Under Armour. And it ends so unceremoniously with Steph Curry lacing up a pair of Nikes at the first game after the divorce, not wearing his own brand that he got made for him, his foot. He'd been with them since 2013. The face of Under Armour, his own brand, Curry brand, was making, let's say, $20 million a year. Not as much as Kawhi made with Aspiration. That's 28. That's $7 million a year. Wow. How am I doing, Coca? How do you feel it's going so far? We still have 16 minutes left. Let me improve. Kawhi Leonard was making $7 million a year to be the Curry brand, the face. Whew. I'm telling you, folks, this is what it looks like to have my life right now. And I appreciate your loyalty. I appreciate you sticking with me. It's the proof there is no script. For the last time, 69, 69, 69. When Under Armour pays Steph Curry $20 million annually because they are getting so much revenue from people wearing Steph Curry sneakers, when that money goes away because people aren't buying the brand anymore. And it's not impacting your business the way Kanye and Adidas had that mutually codependent relationship. The only responsible thing to do is to walk away. And it's what Under Armour did. When you give Kawhi Leonard $7 million on a no-show contract, and you wonder why the executives of the company are shocked and surprised, like, can we get a signed ball or something? Can we somehow forget like a shoe deal? Can we somehow get Kawhi to maybe justify one of these pennies? And he does, he doesn't. If he doesn't, you get rid of him, but he can't get rid of him. That's the Pablo Kawhi salary cap circumvention story. When it's a legitimate relationship like Steph Curry is with Under Armour, totally legitimate from the get-go. Do you know how a legitimate relationship ends? When it no longer is making money. The Curry brand, for whatever reason, Under Armour have been unable to continue their progress getting into the big shoe companies. It just didn't happen. What do? Done. End it. They did. People are a little shocked by it. Not me. Did you think that Steph Curry was going to be Michael Jordan? Did you think that Steph Curry and the Curry brand was going to live on for decades and decades under Under Armour? I certainly didn't. Under Armour, meanwhile, they're losing teams. They're losing individuals. They've had college teams lose them. Quick business lesson here. When you engage in tremendous expansion and you do it so quickly that you can't even financially justify doing it again, but then you keep doing it, and then all of a sudden the pigs come home to roast, and you're out of business. Under Armour, whose shares are selling at $4 or $5 a share right now, down from a high of 50 to 55, the market realizes, hold on, it's not even enough that Auburn left Under Armour after 19 years, or South Carolina is gone, or Cal, or UCLA, or Boston College, or Hawaii, or Steph Curry. None of it's enough. We can't rest our heads on the 9 schools that remain Under Armour schools like Wisconsin and Notre Dame. We can't say this is now the path to profitability. The realization is that if all the teams could cut their ties and Under Armour could cut their ties, they would stop with the endorsements. They would stop with the dressing teams and leagues. Under Armour used to have a deal with MLB. Gone, replaced by Nike. The power of the balance sheet is an aphrodisiac. The power of controlling the capital markets feels better than crack, I would imagine. The power of knowing that you are quashing your competitor feels better than a first kiss. The problem is that there's always the opposite. So that power that you feel in that business sense, that means it's coming at the expense of someone else. The power that Nike feels over Under Armour comes because Under Armour's falling apart. There is no room in an industry for more than one number one. That's why it's called number one. There is none of this 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Forget those labels. Do you think that it was a mistake? Like Steph Curry looked around the clubhouse and said, hey, I need to wear a pair of sneakers. I can't wear the Under Armours anymore. Hey, oh, those look good. You think that that wasn't planned, that Steph Curry wore a Nike pair of sneakers? Are you kidding? It is all happening for Nike, and they are quashing Under Armour. Joe Dumars may be in line. Not yet. He may be in line to be the worst president of basketball operations of any Hall of Fame great player. Hard to do, hard to win, hard to run a team. Joe Dumars left the friendly confines of league action to join a front office and miss the competition, miss the daily wins and losses. I feel him. I get it. I miss it too, but I get paid back in various other ways of watching wins and losses with nothing personal and things that are personal. So I'm fully satiated and overcapacitated. Joe Dumars said, get me back in there, put me in, I can do this. And the owner of the Pelicans, Gayle Benson, said, hey, this is the greatest idea ever. Joe Dumars has been so bad with the Pelicans. Every trade he's done hasn't worked. The thought of maybe drafting well, out the window. The thought of finding a way to get to Zion and really saying, Zion, you're our guy. If you can't do it, no one can. Go Zion. Zion goes from being the size of a national park to having the effectiveness of the Lincoln Memorial by sitting on the couch with his hands on his knees. Zion Williams is the problem in New Orleans, not Willie Green. Joe Dumars decided that he'd had enough after a 2-10 start. He couldn't do it. He couldn't watch this level of mediocrity. Wrong word. He couldn't manage to accept this level of crap, so he fired Willie Green. Willie Green, who is as responsible for the Pelicans' 2-10 start as I am. 12 games into his 5th season. Done. Now, it is true. He only went 150 and 190. It is true the Pelicans, since getting Zion on board, have been mediocre with occasional doses of absolute crap. It is true that Joe Dumars is going to have to find a way to rebuild and retool this organization, except is Joe Dumars the right person to do it? Has there been a great player who's been able to show the patience running an operations department? Here's how to do it. It's super hard to come by. If you are a fan of the New Orleans Pelicans, or frankly, if you're a fan of the New Orleans Saints, and for whatever reason, you believe that your teams are building towards something, that all of this losing that's going on, and my God, it's happening, I'm sorry to report to you that until Gayle Benson sells your team, you are going to lose each and every year because karma's a bitch. Gayle Benson, who spends her time trying to cover up pedophiles, spends her time being ineffective, leading anything except getting people to get away with the unthinkable, has made it very clear, hey, I support the church. B, I support these teams I'm never going to sell. C, you think that we're not impacted by how bad the Saints are and how bad the Pelicans are? We think about it every day. We're trying to fix it, I promise you. The fact that Gayle Benson had to come out in the last week to tell people that she's not selling should say everything about why Gayle Benson should be selling. Now, I've had to come out many times during the course of my career to say, no, our owner's not selling. I know you want him to. I hope your ring looks good. I know you want to, but no, not selling, not selling, not selling. Hey, this team's for sale. There is no way for any owner to predict what's going to happen year over year. Jerry Jones can yell till he's blue in the face that he's never going to sell the Cowboys. And I say, just you wait till you have some sort of health emergency, God forbid, or major issue, major scandal, where selling the team becomes the only possible thing to do. Never say never. And she has been so certain, Gayle Benson has, in telling us she's not selling the team, that I wanted to figure out why. So I got to thinking, and I got to reading, and I came up with what I think is the perfect answer. Owning the Saints and the Pelicans and having them be bad is the perfect cover because it takes away all the other bad that she does. Because people don't want to focus on what's going on the religious side when they can focus on Mickey Loomis. When they can focus on things that in their mind actually impact them way more, to which I would argue, believe me, the only one who says that are anyone who's not a parent of one of the diddled. Because trust me, that would impact you way more than the fact that the Pelicans and the Saints are pathetic year over year, time after time, Cyndi Lauper. Did you know that Mickey Loomis right now, do you know what he does for a living? I don't know if you guys know this. Do you know that Mickey Loomis is the general manager of the Saints? Did you know that? I don't know if you did or not. Did you also know that he used to be the president of basketball operations for the Pelicans? I bet you didn't know that. Do you know how hard it is? You know, you can be the president of a business operation of a basketball and a baseball and a football team. But you know how hard it is to run the sport part of that? You have to be really good to run a baseball operations department. Do you think that that translates and all of a sudden you can run a football team as a true president of football operations, as a true general manager? Do you think the skill sets required translate? Because on the business side, you can bet your sweet bipsters they translate. But on the player evaluation side, on the understanding how to build an organization in that particular sport, on how to evaluate your managers, your coaches, your players, you think that translates? Listen, I can run a business. I can run a business no matter what the underlying product is, but I'm only going to be as good as the people who explain to me what the hell I'm selling. You think that to be the CEO of a semiconductor company, you better be a scientist, you better be up-to-date mathematician, you better know what you're doing. That is a funny, funny thing. Because the pre-qualifications to run a public company, to run a company of any kind business-wise, are the ability to make good decisions and know who to listen to and who not to listen to. Know who to surround yourself with. I could argue very much that that would be the same as a baseball operations president or a football operations president, but there's a difference. The baseball operations department and football operations head, they don't actually run the whole business. They run only their area. So if I were called in to be the president of one silo that just made semiconductors, I would not be qualified to do that. Gayle Benson, she comes out and she is trying to talk about her teams. She's trying to make you feel okay about where the Saints and the Pelicans are. And the funny part is that she said, hey, I'm not firing Loomis. Why would I fire Loomis? I know the fans want to fire him, but it's ridiculous. Loomis does a great job. Mickey Loomis loses sleep at night, Gayle Benson said. Thank God. Loomis is disappointed the way you are. Thank God, because they're so bad. But Mickey told you that this season it would be fine for them to lose because we're rebuilding. The fact that fans don't understand it, don't remember it, don't care about it, Mickey Loomis is doing the exact job I asked him to do. Rebuilding. I laughed at all this Gayle Benson stuff. Be patient. I laughed at all this Gayle Benson stuff. Why? You must be disappointed. I laughed at all this Gayle Benson stuff because she is trying. I give her credit for that. She is trying to deflect so many different things that are going on. She just wants you to know that she is currently running bad teams. So Joe Dumars is going to have to figure out what to do with those Pelicans because he's not getting fired anytime soon. So I know what he's going to do. He's got to get rid of Zion Williamson, doesn't he? Does he have another move? It's not like he has draft capital. It's not like he's been drafting great, good young players, though he's got two young ones who are decent. But still, if he's trying to rebuild and recognize that he's going to try to win ever, you can't do it with Zion. And I know Joe Dumars knows that. The question is, does Gayle Benson know that? And the answer is, we're going to find out. Since we are only doing 3 days a week this week, I get to give you a second wait to see. So it's 2 wait to sees. You remember the first one from the show? I got another one. And you can book this, Coca, as an official wait to see. Zion Williamson is done with the Pelicans. Done. They will not have him back on their team next season. Joe Dumars is down to understanding that what he inherited is done. It has got to start over. Gayle Benson looks at Joe Dumars, looks at Mickey Loomis, looks at the fans, looks at the priests and says, hey, boys, it's just business. Don't worry about all the stuff going on. It's nothing personal.